Episode 30, Bertha Benz's Journey, Part 3, Carburetor. The August sky above Bertha and her two sons, Eugen and Richard, was filled with fluffy clouds that shielded them from the scorching sun. Seated atop the motor wagon as they traveled, the three family members felt refreshed by the cool breeze. Before they knew it, time had passed noon, and they had nearly reached their destination, Pforzheim. Bertha had been refilling the coolant and Ligroin fuel without incident as they journeyed. Then the well-running Motorwagen suddenly shuddered and came to a halt on the road. Thinking it must be another malfunction, Bertha stepped out and went to the rear where the engine was located. She inspected the fuel, coolant, and various parts of the engine, but found nothing particularly unusual. Believing the Motorwagen had simply stalled, Bertha turned the flywheel once more. The Motorwagen twitched as though it would start, but it failed to do so. Only after some time did Bertha realize the Motorwagen wouldn't start because the engine cylinders were not being supplied with fuel. So she inspected the fuel delivery system. While closely examining it, Bertha discovered that the fuel inlet to the engine was clogged with a foreign substance. That clogged part was the vaporizer, what we now call the carburetor. The carburetor is the component that creates the proper fuel-air mixture in the most ideal ratio. The commonly accepted optimal air-fuel mixture ratio is 1 part air to 14.7 parts fuel. However, the mixture ratio varies depending on driving conditions and road situations. If the carburetor malfunctions or is improperly adjusted, the engine cannot perform properly and, in some cases, can be damaged entirely. The carburetor went on to be used in most engine-powered machines, not just cars, but also aircraft and ships. Later, diesel engines evolved the carburetor into electronically controlled systems known as injection. Nowadays, most diesel injection systems use piezo injectors, as mentioned in episode 14, Ford's Dream. To define it, the injection system refers to the mechanism that sprays fuel under high pressure into the cylinder. Within that system, the small component that actually sprays the fuel is called the injector. And this eventually led to gasoline direct injection system injectors. Both carburetors and injection systems feed fuel efficiently into the engine, but carburetors do so mechanically, while injection systems use electronic computer control. Thus, compared to carburetors, injection systems offer better fuel economy, but usually lower peak output. Returning to the main story, upon discovering the clogged carburetor, Bertha set out to unclog it so fuel could reach the engine. However, she had no tool fine enough to clear the narrow pipe. Just as she was at a loss, Eugen noticed his mother's hat. He looked at her with an inspired expression and quickly came up with an idea. Then he exclaimed excitedly to Bertha. Eugen pointed to the pin in his mother's hat and suggested it could be used for the job. Only then did Bertha realize the hat pin was exactly the tool she needed, and she used it to clean the pipe's blockage thoroughly. After the pipe was cleaned, she turned the Motorwagen's flywheel and restored normal operation, prompting the three of them to cheer joyfully. With the Motorwagen operating properly again, they climbed back on and resumed their journey.
This video continues as a series. Subscribe and you'll get a notification as soon as the next story comes up. Subscribe now and don't miss the next episode.